To have seen this print in projection and heard it was really transporting.
It's a film that changed popular culture. It's omnipresent in our lives, and you can see this was the very same object that did have that enormous impact on people of all generations.
This item is an original 1977 print of Star Wars. So this print is in 6 reels. Each one runs roughly 20 minutes maximum. You'll see this smaller can on top of the pile here, and these are the famous opening crawl that explains the situation as Star Wars begins right in the middle of a battle. In the original release print, it just says Star Wars. When Empire Strikes Back came out, Star Wars was reissued, and it was now called Episode 4, A New Hope. And that's what's on these titles. So it's another reason why this print is special. It has that original opening crawl from 1977 with just Star Wars as the title, and then you're straight into the movie. This is the only Star Wars film in Technicolor, and what they're renowned for, Technicolor prints, is the quality of the colour that they achieved, the distinctive feel, look of the colour rendition, and the fact that now they don't appear to have faded at all. So the most common colour systems that were used often faded to a single colour. You can see films that look very pink now or very blue. That's because that's the only colour dyes that are left in them. Whereas Technicolor prints retain their excellent colour reproduction throughout their life. So it's very exciting that this print is in existence and that we're able to screen it in the festival.
The BFI Film and Film Festival is a long weekend taking place between June the 12th and June the 15th at BFI South Bank Cinema in London. The opening night film for this year's BFI Film and Film Festival, I'm really excited to say, is an original British release print of Star Wars from 1977. And it's particularly exciting because this is one of the most popular films of all time. Virtually everybody has seen this in one form or another, but it hasn't been seen on a film print for decades. What was exciting is when we began the research for the film and had that first screening, it was really exciting to see that it was this original Technicolor print. There was the mild disappointment that the opening crawl was the post-Empire Strikes Back credits, so read Episode 4. There were 2 single cans that we hold in the archive of material that hadn't been checked, but we had them checked, and sure enough, it was the original opening crawl, just Star Wars, not Episode 4. So we were able to bring these back together, and we're presenting the film exactly as was seen in 1977.
So what you can see here is the join straight in to the main title, Star Wars.
There are other small changes to that opening crawl in the original 1977 release. The words Rebel and Imperial are in lowercase and subsequently in uppercase. But the major difference is that those first prints just say Star Wars. The print first came into the BFI National Archive in the mid-90s. In this case, it came from the collection at Rank, the great British studio and distributor whose work goes back to the 40s and earlier. And this is its first screening since the mid-90s.
What makes this print special is it's a Technicolor print. And when we say that, we mean it was made with Technicolor's unique system of colour printing. So they took 35mm film, they applied a soundtrack to it, and then to make the picture, they had 3 colour records made from the original negative that was in the camera. And they would make each of the colour records take up a yellow dye, a cyan dye, and a magenta dye. Then each one would be pushed up against the blank film stock, building up the frames and in the full colours. If you applied an equal amount of those dyes, you get black. So Darth Vader's costume is a combination of equal amounts of those 3 dyes. They did something special with the sound too. The soundtracks always sound great, even if they're mono. And a lot of people will have seen Star Wars in mono print. But this one was Dolby Stereo, which was new at the time. And we know from all audience reports and reviews that hearing it in that format really added to probably to the ongoing success of that soundtrack, that kind of early sense of being surrounded and overwhelmed by the soundtrack, and Technicolor processed their soundtracks in silver, so it's very, very good quality.
Yeah, the Technicolor labs were closing through the 70s. There were 3 Technicolor labs operating. That was in Rome, in LA, and in London. Jaws was one of the final films printed there. It was a title we screened in Film on Film Festival in 2023 in its first edition. Star Wars in 1977 was one of the very final films released on a Technicolor print, with the London Technicolor lab closing in 1977. While Technicolor had these great advantages, it was a costly process to make them. So naturally, distributors, filmmakers turn to less expensive alternatives, which is why this Star Wars print is just so precious. Other stocks have their own distinct qualities, but Technicolor has something very, very special. But it was really a financial decision, as things so often are, why there was this move away from Technicolor. So within the BFI National Archive Special Collections, we hold the Anne Skinner collection, and within that is the original continuity script for Star Wars. Anne Skinner was the script supervisor on Star Wars. So a continuity script was a really essential part of the filmmaking process. The script continuity person, Anne Skinner in this case, would be responsible for ensuring that day by day, all the way through filming, but even before filming, there aren't errors in terms of positioning of costume, all manner of things. What we have is the detailed annotated script through the production of Star Wars. It tells a fascinating story about the development of the film through its production. In the case of Star Wars, there are Polaroids, so Anne Skinner would take Polaroids of characters in costume, of the setups of different scenes. There are scenes in the continuity script that don't make it into the final film, so they tell a fascinating story about the storytelling choices that Lucas made. They show the level of attention, the level of detail needed to actually produce a film on this scale. Seeing these original continuity script reminds you that this film was born of this slightly eccentric idea, brilliant and visionary idea of Lucas's, and then developed by a really devoted team, and then it became the Star Wars that we know. But it's really fascinating, I think, to go back to that moment, particularly with films which are so popular and so well known and taken for granted, and unpick them and see that they weren't at that point, you know.
From a personal perspective, I'm just always thrilled by what a great collection is here at the BFI National Archive, full of many classic films in fantastic original copies, such as this one. Like a lot of people, my first encounter with the Star Wars films was really on television. To have seen this print in projection and heard it was really transporting. The life in it is still incredible.
There's something about the object. It's not a facsimile, it's the object, it's the very same print that audiences looked at in 1977. So it's that sense of the tangible link to history. You can almost reach back and imagine when you're watching it that you are in that audience in 1977. It strips back all those layers of accumulated mythos that attach itself to the film. So professionally, that's what I think seeing an original release print can do, and that's what the value of the holdings of the BFI National Archive. Within that collection, there are countless objects that allow you to do that. So that's the real thrill professionally, to first of all to be able to retrieve those objects, you know, care for them, preserve them, and then present them to audiences.